Hello, I'm Jay, owner of Volunteer Audio in Oliver Springs, Tennessee. Making a video to let you know about some of the latest updates to the iDatalink firmware for the HDHU14Si from Soundstream. I've got with me Brandon. He's the product engineer at Soundstream who built this amazing radio that all of you love so much. I've also got Hassan, as well as Steve from iDatalink. They've traveled in from Canada just to be able to work on all the different bikes and different issues and different things we wanted worked on. So hang out and watch the rest of the videos. We go over all the information about the latest update. This video is brought to you by volunteeraudio.com, your #1 source for all things Harley Davidson audio, from individual radios, speakers, and amps to complete plug-and-play amp and speaker systems. We've got you covered. And once you've ordered your package from Volunteer Audio, it includes lifetime tech support, and we have the very best step-by-step installation video so you can install it yourself and save money. All right, first I want to tell you that at Volunteer Audio, I am so grateful for our team. When you call in, you're either going to talk to Samantha, you're going to talk to Rick, you're going to talk to Scotty, you may get to talk to me. In those cases, I want you to know that our only desire is that you have the very best experience, not only before the sale, after you get it and you're installing it, but even later on, months, maybe even years down the road. As we see things will help you make your system even better, make your experience better, we're going to post that on our channel. And the only way we can have that and have all of that work properly is to have partners like we have at Soundstream and Precision Power, motorcycleaudio.com, as well as iDatalink Maestro. These guys are so dedicated to listening to the complaints, the desires, the wants, whatever you want to call it. They listen to it, they act on it, they take their time. These guys have slaved. They've worked all day, they've worked through lunch. I mean, this isn't just sitting around and playing, and whatever this guy's looking at on a computer blows my mind. He's an absolute genius. Just looking at these numbers scrolling across and knowing what they are and reading it, mind-blowing. But I want to brag on both of these companies. We're so blessed to be authorized online retailers for both Precision Power, Motorcycle Audio, and Soundstream, as well as iDatalink Maestro. And I just want to take a minute, I want to brag on them. And now I want to tell you all about all the updates they've done the last 3 days that they've been working on all of these bikes. All right, so let's start talking about some of the issues. And when I say issues, I don't want you to think there's anything wrong with the HDHU14Si or the iDatalink MRR module that we were using. But with Harley, the only thing consistent is the inconsistencies. So as many of you bought this radio and put it in your Harley, we got to find out things that we could have never foreseen. Some bikes have oil pressure sensors, some have oil is okay sensors, some have gear selectors, some don't. So depending on what sensors are on your bike, it's going to make a big difference as to what options it has and what can be displayed in the radio. Because of this, it's really hard to test every possible scenario. So we ran into an issue with some 14 model bikes having a security issue. It had a little red light would come on and sometimes it wouldn't start. And very quickly, the guys at iDatalink did a great job of, I would say, coming up with a patch or a Band-Aid, something to get us through till they could get to a bike that had the issue. Now, some people would call it a curse. I call it a blessing. My 14 model police bike had the issue. So they couldn't find one in Canada, so they came all the way out to us to check out my bike and fix the problem, and I was pretty well blown away. So they planned 3 days thinking this was going to be a really hard fix, and in a few minutes, this genius over here read a bunch of numbers on a computer and fixed the problem. So it was apparently a CAN issue, just making the security system thinking there was an issue when there wasn't. Very quickly it was fixed. So what do we do with 3 days? We've got a whole list of things we would like to check and see what can be done about. A lot of you have a ThunderMax ECM. We told you from the beginning that the ThunderMax ECM does not work, but we all have the desire to see it eventually work with this radio. So we brought in a bike with a ThunderMax ECM, and we were able to download the software for ThunderMax, run it on a computer, monitor what it's doing on the CAN lines, and so far it looks extremely complicated. So we're going to ask if any of you work at ThunderMax or have a connection at ThunderMax, if you'd reach out to iDatalink's tech support. We'd love to talk to you, see if there's a way to get some data from this module back out. What we do know is the ThunderMax ECM will not communicate with a Harley computer. It will not communicate with a techno research computer. It will not send any data out to things like the factory radio to see oil pressure and such. So all of those things don't seem to be easily read and patched into this radio. So we need a little bit of help on that, but I will tell you everything about the motorcycle info screen. So that's if your oil's okay or your oil pressure, and I know I just said the oil pressure doesn't read, but it reads off of the gauges rather than the can line. So it is working on the motorcycle info screen. We can see voltage, we can see tire pressure monitor, we can even see gear selector. So all the motorcycle info is working. The only thing you Thundermax guys are going to lose is the ability to do those cool custom gauges, the 0 to 60 times, quarter mile times, and all the 60 plus gauges that normally you can select and see that we get from the can lines on the ECM. So still yet, aftermarket ECMs are a no-go for gauges to display, but the radio still works great. Motorcycle info still works great. Still a huge improvement to the sound. And this guy here, he absolutely loves his radio to the point he was ready to bring it down, and hopefully we could get it where he could view his gauges, but no matter what, the radio's staying in place. Next, we had all you guys with your boom audio factory amplifiers. This radio did a great job of retaining it. Sounds so much better than your stock radio ever did. The ability to put in things like the BIN code was just amazing. I don't know how you guys are so smart, how you figure all this out, but pulling that factory data and basically putting in what flash was in the amp in your radio so that you could sound its absolute best. So the only thing we lost on this radio was the ability to fade. Now, to most of you, it's not a big deal because in reality, you're sitting perfectly spaced between the speakers and we're not normally going to fade. But I will tell you, we did a lot of research into that while they're here. We figured out some things that can be done, and possibly later, we don't have a date yet, but Soundstream's going to do an update on their end. On the radio end, it'll probably only be available through your Soundstream dealer, and I'll do a later video to tell you all about it, to enable fades. Whether that's the 4-speaker 1 amp boom 1 system, or the 2, 4, 6, or 8 speaker boom 2 systems with the multiple amps, they're going to work on enabling that fade ability, and it will be available at a later date. All right, so with the latest updates, 1.8, 1.9, we had a few people call in that had a random oil pressure pop-up issue. It wasn't consistent. We didn't have a lot of people with it, but we were able to look at the bikes that have the oil pressure switch that just tells you if your oil pressure is okay or not okay, as well as bikes with the pressure sensor, and they were able to do some work, some magic. And version 2.1, the latest software appears to fix all those random oil pressure pop-ups or issues, as well as not bringing the screen up as often. So like when you first start your bike, it's not going to warn you. So just things to make it a little less aggravating. We knew it was working as it should, but they did some magic on the back end and made it where it's not going to pop up when you probably wouldn't want it to be there. All right, so with 3 days and how fast these guys work, we've been through so many different scenarios, whether it be the way the gear selector worked, the way the lights display, different things that show in the radio. They were able to fine tune just so many components. And I told you before, I would not make a video on an update unless I thought that update was beneficial to you. So if you have that 14 model bike that had that security issue, you need to do the latest update because it's going to fix and make your data live now and never have an issue with that start. Also, a lot of you guys realize that some of the data was not live anymore because the data wasn't updating unless the bike was running, originally on the gauge only screen. Later they added it into the motorcycle info screen, and now that data is going to be live anytime you're viewing each one of those. So you're going to have more accurate things like voltage and tire pressure and gauge information than you had before. So this update is going to help you. We also have been able to turn back on the ability for you to go on the radio and disable the OBD2 communication. So all you guys with your tuners, and you're wanting to load a new flash in and you see there's a clash between the radio and your tuner. Some of you have been removing the fuse. You should be able to go right into the Maestro menu, disable the OBD2 communication with the gauges, and then you should be able to connect and you won't have that problem loading that new tune in or the auto tune that you were doing. All right, so I just want to say thank you to Brandon, to SM, to Steve for coming out and working so hard on all these bikes, making sure that you have the best customer service, not only from my company, Volunteer Audio, but from these manufacturers that care very, very deeply about how satisfied you are with their products. So thank you for watching. Definitely look at our previous videos at Volunteer Audio's YouTube channel. We have videos showing you, and we'll tag it at the end here, and I'll put it in the description, how to update your ADS-MRR to the latest software. The latest live software is 2.1. It fine-tuned a lot of things that we probably didn't even go over and mention here, just to make it work better. If you want to have the best performance out of the gauges, out of the motorcycle info screen, to make sure there's no weird things that pop up on your bike related to the radio. All of it has been addressed. 2.1 is definitely the one we're going to be using moving forward. And as always, when you buy an HDHU14Si, the new Soundstream Reserve SI radio from Volunteer Audio, we're already going to ship it with the latest software in your MRR. Watch our video on how to update if you bought it in the past, or if you bought it somewhere else. We still want to help you get the best experience out of your radio. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely subscribe to Volunteer Audio's YouTube channel for the latest information on Harley Audio, and we'll keep you up to date, making sure that the things that you're going to purchase or that you've already purchased give you the best experience. Like this video so YouTube will move us up higher in search standings so other people will see it, other people will also get helped. And comment below if you have questions, other things you want us to mention, to go over. Definitely comment below. I'll share it with these guys, and they would definitely want to do future upgrades to make it even better. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and God bless.